Good day. Well, you're watching Republic Nation News, and I am Kelly Giles, the Randall County Republican Chairman, and with me today is Paul Herrmann. And Paul is running for County Court at Law #1 here in Randall County. So, Paul, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, great. Well, Paul, we'll just get right into it. I think what people want to know is how did you come to be in Amarillo, and how long have you lived here?
Well, I've lived in the Panhandle my whole life. I grew up outside of Borger in what is known as an oil field camp. You don't see them much anymore, but grew up with oil equipment, workstations. There was a house in the camp. There was actually 3 of them. Oil derricks and pulling units were my jungle gyms growing up. Went to a little country school there called Spring Creek. We moved to Amarillo when I was in high school. I went to University of Texas at Austin, got a degree in petroleum land management. Went to work for Exxon, the world's largest corporation at the time, as a landman. Worked for them for a landman and went to law school at the same time.
And where did you go to law school?
In Houston.
South
Texas College of Law.
Okay.
In Houston. While I was still working at Exxon. Got my degree. Worked for a little while at an oil and gas law firm in Houston, then moved to Amarillo after we had our second child. We moved to Amarillo because we wanted to slow things down a little bit. We did a lot of commuting, to Houston to live and stuff. And so we moved here. I went to work for the DA's office here in Potter County.
Mm-hmm. All right. And what year was that when you went to work for the DA's office?
That was 92 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of cases did you work there?
Well, I was a felony prosecutor, so I did all felony. I was the chief felony prosecutor in 320th. I did all the cases that they had: murders, rapes, robbery, drug cases, big thefts, stuff like that, all the way up to capital murder. Did capital murder cases where they sought the death sentence. So the whole gamut. You did everything when you were the prosecutor. In a certain court, you did everything in that court. Mm-hmm. Now they have it divided up a lot. They have like a sex crime prosecutor and a drug prosecutor and stuff like that. They divided it up a lot more. But back then, you just did them all as a prosecutor.
And then you went into private practice after that?
And I went into private practice, yes, after that. Been in private practice ever since. So okay. Will be my 39th year as an attorney.
Whoa, 39 years.
39 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what kind of cases did you have in private practice?
Same thing. A lot of them. I have some civil cases, of course. I do some divorces. I do some civil cases, but the bulk of my practice is criminal law, and I'm board certified by the state of Texas as an expert in criminal law. I have been since 1999. And you have to re-up every 5 years. You have to prove you're still an expert in the law. First, you have to qualify and take a test to become board certified. You have to have the certain qualifications, and then you have to take the test, and then you're board certified. And then every 5 years, you have to re-up to prove that you're still an expert, that you've done the work, you've taken the classes, and I've done that ever since 1999.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. And what about your family?
I have a wife, Allison. We met in Houston. She was working for Shell. I was working for Exxon. Our kids think we worked at gas stations, but we didn't. She was working for Shell as an accountant. Like I said, I was at Exxon as a landman. And she's from Louisiana, and we moved here with 2 kids. We ended up with 4 children. Mm-hmm. And they all moved out. I mean, they've grown up and went to college and graduated, and then they all live in another state.
I'll be darned.
I'll be darned.
So what is your motivation in seeking election? What do you feel that you want to bring to the court?
Experience. When you've done it as long as I have, you've seen all the judges, you've seen all the rulings. You've had lots of clients they ruled one way, you can see how it affected them. They ruled another way, you see how it affected them. So you've seen it all. When you've had as much experience and seen as much as me, you kind of start to want to make the decisions as opposed to be subjected to them. So, I think that's natural for any attorney. After a while, you're a prosecutor. Like I was a prosecutor, then I was a defense attorney, and eventually, the other leg of the stool is the judicial. So most attorneys feel that way. That's just another
natural evolution.
Way, that's right, to work in the profession.
All right. And what do you expect to see in county court at Law 1? What kind of cases, and kind of what percentage of different cases? Like what percent's family law, what percent criminal? How will that kind of break down, do you think?
Well, if you just look at the cases they get, the family law is taken over. It's done in misdemeanor court through the district court because it's really the district court's jurisdiction.
Okay.
Family law. They will hear temporary cases for them, what they call temporary, orders, where they put on the case and you decide until the final case. This is how it's going to be, the status quo. This person gets custody. This person.
Right.
That's the temporary hearing. That can be done in misdemeanor court or county court because they've by agreement. The final hearing usually is done, it can be done there if it's by agreement, but then a lot of times it's moved to district court because they're the ones with the jurisdiction of it. The bulk of the cases are criminal cases. And criminal and juvenile, a small percentage of them are civil outside of family law or criminal law. But criminal cases is the bulk of the amount of trial work that they have in county court.
Okay. All right. Very good. And you would, the county court at Law 1 does, your actual courtroom is in Canyon.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it's in the old Walmart, but it's now the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Justice Building's what they call it.
It's a good courthouse. It's big and it's wide, so they did a good job with it.
And so there's 5 people running
Yes.
in this race.
Yes.
And so how do you feel that you can differentiate yourself or separate yourself from the other 4 people running? What do you kind of feel like you maybe have the edge on?
Well, I like all of them, and
Yeah.
they're all good attorneys. I have nothing bad to say about them, and I've recommended cases to these other 4 attorneys, and they do a good job. So I don't have anything bad to say about any of them. If they voted for them, I don't have anything to say against you for doing that. But I have vastly more experience than all the rest of them. As a matter of fact, I have more experience in trying cases is the hardest thing that you do as an attorney, a jury trial. And I've tried more cases to a jury than all the rest of my opponents put together. That's in misdemeanor court, also in felony court, more than all of them put together. And the hardest cases to try are in federal court, and they're by far the hardest cases to do anything. And I've tried more federal cases than all of my opponents put together. I've also written more appeals, either in state, misdemeanor, or district cases, felonies, or in federal court than all my opponents put together. And a lot of that's because I'm older and I practice more. I've practiced about twice as long as the rest of them. So that just built up over time. It's nothing that I did great, but I did do it, and I have been there. I've been doing the work, and I have that much more experience than they do.
Okay.
Plus, I'm the only one who's board certified by the state of Texas as an expert in the law, and none of the rest of them have a board certification. I'm the only one of us that do.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Is there anything you'd like to, for our audience to know, or anything you'd like to address with them?
Well, as far as running the court, my partner for 20 years, Walt Weaver, is the county court at law judge number 1 in Potter County. And one of the things he did, and most people have given me feedback on it, either from the government or from private attorneys, was he started a veterans court there in Potter County. And a veterans court is, a lot of these veterans that we sent off to do our battle, to do war for us, came back with problems, either because they were injured or because they became addicted to drugs while they were over there, or maybe they became addicted to drugs because of their injury, or they had post-traumatic stress syndrome. They have mental problems because of it. And it really is because of that they became part of the criminal world, and through the criminal system. And he started a system through the veterans. He started the veterans court where they take the defendant and they send them through a different system, through the system in a different manner. They meet with them once a week. They have all these things that they can go to that already provided for, all these functions, mental health counseling or other kind of financial counseling, things like that they can send them through that we already have, but they're not used to using them, like the VA, through the VA and stuff, and making sure that they understand that's available for them, making sure they go to it, kind of order them to do it, come back the next week to see how they did as far as going to those doing the services and seeing how they did in them, seeing if there's something else the court can do to facilitate that. And they've had a very good success rate. You know, the success rate in the first-time criminal case is no better than 50%. It is 80% on these veterans cases where they really look into their mental problems, because really that's what it is. They're not just outlaws. They really do have a mental problem, which can be addressed, and they do. And, we owe it to them because we're the reason they've got it. I mean, we all have to recognize that. They went over there, we didn't. And so we have to address it to help them out as part of the service for what they did for us. So I think that should be done in Randall County too. I think that we should do that.
So one statistic that I noticed is that, and I think this is people that are incarcerated or on parole, is that this is on men between ages, I think 18 to 26, that the reoccurrence of another crime when they get out is very high. It's like 80%.
Yeah, but you got to realize, first thing you want to do is you want to try to make sure a first-time offender is not a second-time and third-time offender. That's really what you kind of want to do. So you really want to focus on that first offense to see what you could do to maybe keep them from being the permanent offender, the real criminal, the real outlaw. And, once you've gone through, for example, anytime somebody comes to my office and they go, and I'm talking to them, they go, yeah, I've been to the pen. I know, here's what I know. They didn't start out with a felony, and they probably started out on their first felony, they got probation. And during that probation, they violated it, and they probably got another chance, straighten up, maybe take this courses, maybe be incarcerated for a little while. And they didn't do any of that. So by the time that person went to prison, they've had chances after chance. And then they ended up in prison. So you've got a smaller amount of people who actually go to prison. But they're the ones, that's why the recidivism is so much higher with them, is because by the time they got to prison, they'd already violated several times. Either they committed new crimes, they quit reporting, they did more drugs, stuff like that.
Right.
And prison is not, there's no magic bullet. If you go to prison, you're not cured of your problem.
Right.
I can assure you the cure usually comes right in their own head. That's the only place that cure is. And so you put them in prison. Maybe while they're in there, they're off the drugs for a length of time. And maybe that helps them. A lot of times it does. Maybe when they're in prison, they realize, you know what, I kind of suck as a person. Maybe I ought to make the change. And it's not until they decide they're going to make that change that change is made. And so that's why that system gets the way. We tried. And by the time you say they went to prison, they came back. Yeah, but some of them didn't. All right. First off, some of the people we put on probation did the service. They didn't come back. They did realize that their life sucked and they needed to change it, and they didn't go that direction. But the ones who did, they do have the higher recidivism rate.
So when we look, what percentage of crime would you say is in one way or another where there's drugs involved?
Oh.
Either consumption of drugs or drug dealing, or
80 probably more.
80%.
I guess the sex crimes are not. All right, if you're going to count DWI as a drug crime, yeah, I would say 80. They either. I had a client one time, and his parents and his brother pinned me into a room, trying to harass me that they were convinced he didn't commit the offense because they knew everything about him and it was a burglary of habitation, and they kept asking me, we give him everything, and blah blah blah. And finally, they're like, why do you think he would commit this offense? And I said, the same people commit this offense for the same reason. Every one of them. They steal to sell what they steal, to get money, to do drugs. And I remember when I said that to them, they all just kind of sunk because they knew I was right. They just didn't want to hear it. And when they heard it, you could see they all just like, that's what it is. But yeah, that's where most of the crime is for drugs.
So I'll cite a person, Jordan Peterson, a renowned psychologist, who's done a lot of study in lots of different areas, but it's mostly cultural or sociology study. And he was talking about specifically abusers, substance abusers, whether it be alcohol or drugs, that the psychiatry or psychology, academians and practicing clinicians have known for 80 years that the only way to make a change, maybe not the only way, but it's a very high percent, is when people come to faith. And without faith, he said that the psychologists have known it for 80 years, that is the main tool to make change in a person is through faith development. Mm-hmm. And so, I always heard that in county jail, and I don't know whether it's in the big penitentiaries, but the first thing that's offered to you is a Bible.
And a lot of them take advantage of that. They do use it, and they come to you and they tell you that they've been reading the Bible and they've changed because of it. And it's so, and it is true. It is true. They say a lot of people find Jesus in prison and they mock it, but it's really true. They do. It may not stick, but I've talked to them one-on-one when they don't have to be lying to me. They may want to lie to other people, but to me they don't have to lie to. And they're telling me that, honestly telling me that they have. So, and a lot of it's because they're there. They're not out chasing drugs or stealing stuff, and they have time to focus, and they do have a Bible, and they do get to focus on that. And it does help them. It does make a big difference. And some of these people, it is the difference in their life.
Mm-hmm. And I just find that's interesting that seems to, culturally, that seems to give us much more peace and much more success in our society building when whatever faith a person may choose, that they do have some kind of faith to a guideline.
I think that's part of humans, is that we have that deep down in us, and that when we can find something bigger than us, than our immediate needs, to guide us to what we want, then maybe that can do it as opposed to just answering those immediate needs that we have a tendency to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Paul, thank you so much for being here.
You bet.
We appreciate you coming in, and we wish you the best of luck in your race. And that's County Court at Law number 1 in Randall County. And this is Paul Herrmann. And we will see you at the polls.
All right. Thank you.